Welcome to today's art class. We're going to start into some Christmas things. So obviously you can see the reindeer that we're going to paint today. It's kind of fun. It would make a beautiful card, which I had put in the description, the information. So if you fold your card in half, then you will be able to make a little card to give. And I'll just show you how we can fold our paper. And if you have your 9x6 piece of paper, which is, if you take and fold that in half again in the shape of a greeting card, so you can see I've just folded that. So it's a card. So I can open that up and write in the center, and I can paint on the front if I wish. So that's the way you can make a card, and you just need to find an envelope that would be the correct size. So hopefully some of you decide to make a card, and if not, if you want to make a full page this time and then start to make cards, you can make these reindeer all different, and everybody can get a unique card from you, which would be kind of fun. So think about that. And so for today, let me just say thank you for you being here. Thanks for being my reason to paint and to try new things. I appreciate all of you. And so we'll need some paper towel for today and 2 buckets of water. Looks like I've got really big ones. That's just the size that they are today. So a couple of buckets of water. Doesn't really matter as long as you've got enough to get your brush wet. We have our card chosen for today. And we have our picture. We want some brushes. I have a bigger brush. This is a 9. We're going to paint the whole outer surface first, so a bigger brush is good. Maybe a 3 if you want, a smaller one, a 2. You know, the brushes that you decide that end up your favorites, they're the right brushes for you. If they feel good and they give you the colors that you need, then they're the right brush. So, and of course your paints, we're going to do yellow, ochre, green, red, black, just looking at the picture. Yeah, so lots of colors. So if you haven't got any of those colors, pick a new one. Just pick a new one just for fun. So let's take 3 deep breaths and get into art mode and let go of anything else that's bothering us or bugging us or in the way or troubling us or whatever else is going on. Let's just get into art mode for this class. So first, and we'll take a deep breath in, really take a deep breath in and hold it at the top. And we're going to look at something in the room that gives us joy. So look around, see what can you look at that would give you joy, and think about that while you're in that moment of holding that breath for the second, and give yourself a smile. That's always really important because that feels good inside. So take a deep breath in and hold it for a moment and release with a big smile. And our second deep breath in and hold it for a moment and release. Give yourself that smile. Release any tension in your neck. Third deep breath in and hold it and release. And really let that go in the shoulder region. And we're going to get into some color. So there's our reindeer. I'm going to start with my number 9 brush. And I'm going to do wet on wet. So what we'll want to do, well, let me just remind you also that this is not a piece of work based on perfection. This is a fun reindeer. It's just a happy reindeer, makes you smile when you look at it. As I said, if you want to give it away as a card or a gift, or hang it up for Christmas time, then that's a perfect opportunity to have something fun. So I've got quite a few projects for Christmas this year that we'll do together. So with my brush, my number 9 brush, is just a bigger pointed brush. I'm going to paint with water, just clear water, all the way around those antlers, right to the outer edges. Right around those antlers. Just getting it wet. Just around those eyes. And this is just an opportunity, excuse me, to be with like-minded artists, just trying new things. If you're not happy with what you paint the first time around, you're welcome to look at the recording and try it again a second or third or fourth, whatever length of time or opportunity you have for painting. Just go ahead and have fun with it. And I'm going to go all the way around that nose. And everything is just with clear water. So what I'm doing is priming the canvas first. Just getting it ready to receive paint. Going around that mouth. And all the way down to the bottom. So we're getting the whole canvas wet around our drawing. So I'm just going to add a little bit of extra water. When we put the color on, don't worry about whether it's completely even all the way through. If there's lights and darks in your ochre, that's okay. I'm just tapping on a little bit of extra water. And if I have too much water pooling, because I'm on an easel, if I have too much water pooling, or if you have too much water pooling at the bottom, just use your paper towel and just wipe off that bottom edge. And then I'm going into my tray of ochre, and I'm going to start to put that ochre on my paper. Now you see it's starting to run, it's starting to move because my canvas is primed. If what happens, any of that ochre runs onto my antlers, I'm not going to worry about it, and I hope you don't either. It's okay. We are going to paint them black anyways, so not to worry, but we do have a few angles to go around, so just work your way along. It's a big area, so just work your way around. But you see it's starting to fill in those little spots in between, just because my canvas was primed. So it's wet, so it's going to accept that paint. And I'll go around those antlers. Like I said, if something happens and you hit an antler, you get a little bit of ochre on there, don't worry about it. And the lights and darks, the different variation of colors throughout are fine. They're actually going to add to the backdrop behind your reindeer. So continuing on, I'm just going around the mouth. What I want to avoid is a little halo where the antlers are or where the mouth is. So if you have a little white spot, just touch that little white spot up. And around those eyes. And around that mouth. So again, you can see there's some highs and lows in color. If there's pooling at the bottom, I'm just going to rub that with my brush so I don't have the big puddles at the bottom. Any white spots, I'm just going to touch those up. And there's a little bit of ruddiness here on the side of his face, just from the colors. That's okay. I said this is not about perfection. If you're painting with someone else and you're painting, your work doesn't look the same as theirs, it's not supposed to. So be proud of your individuality and the work that you're doing. And so we'll need to let this dry before we go ahead and paint the antlers and the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. I didn't mention in the instructions that you might need a blow dryer. I never thought of it. So I'm just going to wait for mine to dry. But if some of you want to go ahead and use the blow dryer, then now is a good time. While some of you are still blow drying, I'll make this little card. So I haven't drawn the reindeer. So this is going to be just a quick version. If I had drawn it ahead of time, thought of that, it would have been easier, but you know what? It's all right to challenge yourself as well. So all I'm doing for my card at this point is just putting ochre on it. While some, as I said, while some of you are still blow drying, I've just got ochre paint on a card. So it's just a little card, just with some ochre. So we'll come back to that, let that dry, and we'll come back to that and make it into a reindeer card for somebody. So you can use the back of your hand just to check and see if your canvas is dry. If it's cool to the touch, it's probably still wet if you've used a blow dryer. But best that it would be warm. And using the back of your hand is better than the front, as we have oils in the palm, so we use the back. So not to disturb the paint or the surface. And lots of times I have white backerboards. This time I have placemats. I was able to get a few of those. So they're just plastic placemats, so they're easily washable. And if I flip it over, you'll see it's just a placemat. So it's a placemat that you'd put on your kitchen table, kind of pretty, but I cut it in half to make two. So now I've got a plastic surface that picks up all the paint, and because it's a placemat, it will wipe out very easily from watercolor paint, actually from acrylic as well. So now that we're this far, let's do some antlers. So I'm going into my black paint. So there's lots of, this can be dark painted. They are antlers, so we do want them to be dark. But if you need to make black, if you don't have black, then adding a blue or a red to black makes it darker. Sometimes red and blue will make a purple, but you want to have it a little bit darker, so maybe a little bit of brown would help. So with the antlers, I'm just going to start. I'm using my number 3 point brush. And again, I'm resting my finger on my canvas so that I have a nice balancing point. And I'm just going to paint those antlers. If they're not perfectly straight, that's okay. They are antlers, and I don't know reindeers that have perfectly straight reindeer or antlers, so not to think that they have to be perfect. So just popping that black paint on. And they can be thinner or thicker. It doesn't really matter. Part of this picture is just a little bit wider. Just for effect. And if your antlers aren't the same as someone else's or mine, that's okay. If they're higher on the page or lower on the page, if they go off the page, it's okay. So I'm just filling in that white section. And because we're painting a dark color on top of a light color, it's going to go on a little bit smoother. If we were trying, you cannot paint a lighter color on top of a dark color and have the same effect in watercolor. So you need to put your lights on first. So we've got one antler done. And I'll move to the second one. And just take your time filling in the spot. Just staying in the now. If you start to get tension in your shoulders, or you find you're holding your breath, just take a deep breath and let it go. And if you add a lot of water to your black when you're putting it on, it may lighten it up. And when it dries, it may be more of a gray color. So if you want it to be a little bit darker, then less water and more paint will make a difference. So there he is. He's starting to come together. A little bit of a cute guy, ready for the season. And while some of you are still painting, if I take my card and I just put in some antlers, just just roughly draw those in. So I have antlers on my card. And we'll move next on our full size to the eyes. And I'm going to outline the eyes. Just outlining the eyes. And I want to leave a little white section. So I have this white where it looks like the top of the eye. So I'm just going to draw a line. You would have seen that line in the picture. So hopefully you put that line in. If not, you can paint it in. And then I'm going to paint black down below. So if I work with my card, I've got two eyes. And maybe they're not perfectly straight. I can adjust a little bit. And I'm just painting down below. And while I've got that black paint out and black still on my brush, I'm going to paint the mouth. So we've drawn that mouth. Just a little bit of a smirk. And filling it in. And I can do the same on the card. I haven't got my nose drawn in there, but I can do a little bit of a smirk down here. Just a little bit. Just a saucy little reindeer. Now we're just about at halftime. So I'm going to read our halftime card. Our halftime card says, "My power lies in my peaceful presence." So when you are peaceful and present, that's where you have the most power, the most energy and strength. So at all costs, wherever possible, work for serenity and peacefulness, because it really helps for your own personal strength. So now I had said red for the next color for the nose. I'm going to use, I think it's vermilion red. As long as, even if it's a pinky red, I guess, maybe better, more of a deeper red. A scarlet red if you've got it, not so much an alizarin crimson. But we're going to paint the whole nose in red. And again, if there are lights and darks throughout your picture on the nose, where it's lighter in one spot or darker on another, don't sweat it. It's okay. We're going to do a little marking, a little paint lift off on the nose. And it looks a little bit pink. I think I'm going to try a little bit deeper red. Let's see if that's more red. There we go. So that's an alizarin crimson red. I thought that was more pinky, but it is deeper red. So even a cherry red if you've got something like that. So, and again, your picture doesn't necessarily have to look like anyone else's picture. It's your individuality. So there's our red, and we'll do a little bit of lifting off to give that light effect on the nose. But first, we'll just cover it all in red. And if it's, again, if it's lighter and darker in some spots, that's quite all right. So if I take my card and I draw the circle of a nose in there, nice big red nose for my reindeer. So it's a cute card for someone to receive, and you can write inside. You can sign the back. There we go. Set that one aside. And we're going to let the paint on the nose dry a little bit before we do the lifting off technique. That way we're going to have a better effect of getting some paint off. But let's move it back up to the eyes. So I'm getting my paintbrush wet. I'm tapping it off on paper towel, taking off the excess. So if I get my paintbrush wet, tap off the excess water. So I'm just tapping, really. I'm not taking out all the water because I do want it to be a little bit damp. And I'm going to go into the eyes and I'm going to lift off a little bit of color. So I'm lifting off in the bottom of the eye, and I may need to tap on my brush again into water and get it damp again, but I want just a little shadow in the bottom black part of the eye. So you can see I'm getting my brush wet, I'm tapping off the excess water, I'm going onto the eye with a damp brush and lifting off paint and then rubbing it off on my paper towel. Again, dampening the brush, tapping off the excess, because I don't want it dripping. I just want a damp brush, and I'm just lifting off. So that paint with a damp brush will have no choice. It has to move. It has to lift. So it gives us just a little shadow in the bottom of the eye. And I'll do the same on the little card. I'm just going to take off a little bit in the bottom part. Just a little bit, just lifting off, not too much. But you can probably hear my brush rubbing. And then we'll do the same in the nose. So I want a couple of spots in the nose. I want one up here, just a little line at the top. Again, I'm going to rub with a damp brush, just lift off a little bit of paint. And I'm going to lift us almost a triangle spot a little bit lower in the nose. So just a little triangle spot, just a little bit lower. Just a little bit wider at the bottom than the spot at the top. So he looks pretty happy, right? Looks like a happy reindeer, makes someone smile. So just that little section at the top of the nose, just a little section, and a wider section a little bit lower. So when you put the brush on, as I said, if it's a damp brush, the paint has no choice. It has to move. So there's the little card. And if you take off more than you think you wanted, you can put on a little bit extra. You can just put it back. That's not a problem. That's kind of the fun about painting, is learning that you can do these extra things if you choose. So there's the card. Now let's move beyond the card. We'll just see how people are doing. People are still painting, so I won't rush you, but we do want to give some decoration to this reindeer. Now, if you have a pencil with you and you want to use a pencil to go ahead and draw some lines, or a pen, that's entirely up to you. But we're going to give this reindeer, so I have a pen. You can use a pen. It doesn't have to be a pencil. But I'm going to, and I didn't draw these on because I want you to have some fun and put the wires where you think they would go. So I'm starting at the far side of my page, and I'm just going to do a loop. It's just a little loop. Now, I've used a pen. If you want to just do this with the brush freehand, then we'll certainly do that together on the little card. But I've got some antlers here that I want to give some fun lights to. So I'm just using a pen and just doing some little wiggles with light, what looks like wires of lights. So if I was to do the same thing on my little card, just with black paint and a thin brush, and really I'm trying to get my black paint, or well, actually we can use, instead of black paint, let's use green paint. I'm trying to get the green paint as thin as possible. So I want to have the paint only on the tip of my brush. So I would start from the side, whoops. Just do a little wire. So again, I'm just using the tip of my brush. And so I have wires for lights to go on. So if I want to make another loop, I can make another loop, that's okay. So that's the little one, just using my brush. And now that I've got this penciled or penned on, whatever you did, however you put those wires on, now I can go back with my brush and just put green paint on top of all of those loops and wires. So I'm just painting the wires. And this is what really will give your painting some individuality. And there should be no two exactly alike. And if I come back to the little card, for each light I'm going to put on, there's a little post that the light sits on. So it can be just a little post that the light's going to sit on. So I'm going to mark where I'm going to put those lights first. So you can put more or less. You don't have to do the same amount as I am. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll put one here, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I like to do odd numbers, 13. I'm going to do 13 lights. So each light, it doesn't have to be a different color, but I want to have, just in mind, I'd like to have a variety of colors. So I'm going to just give a little light bulb here and there in red. So there's my red lights. So going back to the larger picture in green, I'm going to identify where am I going to put lights. There's 1, so just a little post, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. And I'm just going to wait a moment for those posts to dry so that it doesn't run when I put my light bulb on it. And back to my red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And if I come back to my little card, I think I'd like to use some blue. I've got a nice bright blue. And again, they don't have to be perfect. They don't all have to be evenly spaced out. So I'm going to stop with blue, and the next color I'm going to put on there will be yellow, which will look a little bit different sitting on top of the ochre. So back into my larger picture with my blue. That's 1. Now I know I want to put yellow. I know I'm going to put yellow on there, so I want to leave room in between. So I've got red and blue. I think I'll put yellow up there. Maybe I'll put blue down here. Blue here. And there's no reason why, if you've done your light string and you think you want to add more lights, then there's no reason why not. Certainly add as many as you like. So if I decide I want to add an extra one down here, I can put the light bulb in, and I can make a little green post just on the wire, just to attach. And as I mentioned, I wanted to do yellow. So onto my card with yellow. So I've got a nice bright, it's a Hansa yellow. It's nice and bright. So it should show up very well, even on the ochre. So let's see a yellow light. Let's pop one in there. And I think I'll add one up here. There we go. So he looks pretty festive. And my hands are yellow, nice and bright. Oh, I've mixed with the green. So I'll come back to this one that I touched the green on. I'll give it a moment to dry and then I'll go back with fresh color. So not to panic if you do that. If it touches on your little stem, you can go back once it dries. That should be dry enough now. There we go. Pop that fresh yellow on top. And as I mentioned before, if when you put your black on, your black has faded, it's not as dark as you like, then go back and just give that black a fresh coat. And you can do the same around the eyes if you need to. Just a nice outer rim, just in fresh black, just to make it pop a little bit more. And if your mouth is faded a little bit on the reindeer, just add a little fresh black. And I'll do the same on the larger one. I'll just add some fresh black just to make that really pop against the ochre. And I'll go around those eyes again just to give them a nice fresh coat of black. And I'm touching up the mouth a little bit. Just to give it a fresh coat, nice pop, maybe give a little bit of an edge to that mouth. And what's left to do is to decide what your artist's signature looks like and where you want to put that on your card or on your picture. So I'm just going to sign mine right at the bottom. And I'll do the same under the mouth. And so remember to sign your art. It's important to do that. When we do the collage shot, there are times when you're not able to find your own, even though they all look the same, or they all look a little bit different. they all look very similar when you get them together. So and be proud of your work that you've done today. And I hope you've enjoyed painting this reindeer. And remember that your power lies in your peaceful presence. So when you are peaceful and serene, that's when you have the most energy and power. So this is what you can do in 1 hour. It was short and sweet and fun, not too challenging. I hope you enjoyed it.